Niantic sells off Pokemon Go, Fable delayed to 2026, and publishers dodge GTA 6. All this and more coming up right now on the 1up Showdown. Welcome to the 1up Showdown, presented by the Gamerheads Podcast. Our panelists will go head-to-head, tackling the hottest topics in the industry. But this isn't just a debate, it's a game where every life counts. Before we begin, let's meet our panelists. So I'll start with Sebastian. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and who you are?
Hey, I'm Sebastian. I'm from the Single Player Experience podcast and the singleplayerexperience.com. I mostly cover single player games and, glad to be on here with this esteemed list of panelists, and, Roger, So I am, I'm so happy to be on here. Hopefully I can stay alive and, finagle my way into talking whatever I want to, or whatever about whatever I want to at the very end. So thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. Stephanie, why don't you go next?
Oh, hello. I'm Stephanie. For those that don't know me, I am a co-host over at the Boss Rush podcast at the Boss Rush Network. Really excited to be here with my buddies here, and I'm going to be that contestant that's here to make everyone else look good.
Oh, please. Oh, please. I think you'll do very well. Welcome, Stephanie. Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
And then last but not least, Dave, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. I'm Dave Jackson, host of Tales from the Backlog, which is a weekly gaming backlog deep dive review analysis type show. So here to do something I almost never do, which is talk news, and I'm excited to do it.
And by the way, highly recommend both of these podcast colleagues of mine. I'm a big single player gamer myself, so it's always good to listen to stuff like that because I have a lot of friends that play multiplayer games and they get on my back about that and I'm like, leave me alone. And then with Tales from the Backlog, I've actually picked up quite a few games because of that, and one of them was Mother 3, for example, and no regrets.
Yeah. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody. And before we begin, I should probably explain how this game works. So here's how the scoring works. Each panelist will start with 3 lives. And if they make a strong argument, they will earn an extra life. And you'll hear that noise. If they drop a weak take, fumble their response, or go off topic, they will lose a life.
Oh, no.
But here's where things get really interesting. After each question, I'll decide if someone delivered a response so strong it deserves a steal. And if that happens, you'll hear this. And then they can take a life from another panelist, which means that comebacks are always possible. So at the end of the game, the panelist with the most lives wins and then gets the final word, where they can talk about whatever they want for a whole 60 seconds. That's right, 60 seconds.
Whoa.
Yeah, long. I know, long time. So, are you all ready? Are you ready for this game?
I'm scared, but I'm ready. I need to know how harsh Roger's going to be with these point deduction, these life deductions.
I was going to say, don't let his sweet dulcet tones fool you. Okay.
Yeah, he's got the butcher knife out and everything. He showed it to us.
I have the pen.
Started.
I have the pen. Yes, this is it. It's very high tech.
He threatened us when we weren't recording.
That's right. That's right. I told them to stop crying. It is time for the show, and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's begin. So my first question is this. We learned that Niantic Labs said it would sell its video game division to Saudi Arabia-owned Scopely for $3.5 billion. That's right, $3.5 billion. As the U.S. augmented reality firm shifts focus to geospatial technology after failing to recreate the success of its 2016 smash hit, Pokémon Go. My question to you is this. Is Niantic's decision to sell its game division, including Pokemon Go, to Scopely a strategic pivot or a sign of struggles in sustaining AR game success? So, Sebastian, I'm going to start with you. Is this a strategic pivot, or is this a sign of struggle sustaining AR game success?
I do think this is a little mixture of both, but since we have to pick a side, I'm going to say this is a strategic pivot. I think they kind of saw, just like the stock market, you kind of like see how you try to get off as high as you can whenever the trend is sort of coming down there. So I think they bought high and then, bought low and then sold high. So I think this is very strategic, as a matter of fact. I also think this is a sign of like maybe the industry is leaning a little bit away from that model. So a little bit of both, but if I had to choose one, it's definitely the first one.
Okay, sounds good. Stephanie, I'm going to go to you next. What do you think? Is this a strategic move, or is this a sign of struggling to sustain AR game success?
So I just first want to credit Sebastian for saying it's a bit mix of both, because technically in the end I do feel that it is. But again, to pick a side, I believe it is a struggle for AR success. And I don't say that because I want to take a negative spin, because I do believe many large companies that have found previous success, especially through one such as Pokemon Go, that took the world by storm, by the way, for them to kind of follow up and achieve those same milestones. And when they see the revenue drop less and less, a little bit of panic sets in. Maybe they hit lightning in a bottle with Pokemon Go, but maybe it's not so good to put all their eggs in one basket. So I feel that a little bit of, not necessarily failure, but things falling below their standard, they needed to kind of shift gears quickly, and a little bit of a panic. But companies never like to admit they're in a bit of a panic. They want to dress it up as a strategic decision, and let's hope it does work out for them.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 lives for that one, Stephanie. Good job.
Ooh.
Dave, you're up next. What do you think? Strategic pivot or a sign of struggles in sustaining AR game success?
I think it's a pivot because of struggles of sustaining that success. Because, like Stephanie said, Pokemon Go was so big. It is an unimitable success. You can't just make another Pokemon Go, no matter how badly you want to. And even if it's the same company with the same brand and the same splash screen logo that comes up on their next game, they're never going to replicate Pokemon Go. And who knows how much longer Pokemon Go has even. So it seems like a smart move to, if this is what they're seeing on the inside. I don't have insiders at Niantic, but if you can believe it, if that's what they're seeing, that Pokemon Go is kind of plateauing or decreasing, then it's a strategic pivot to be like, let's make some more money off this one final paycheck, and then let's find something else to do.
Nice. I actually think that was a very good argument, and I'm going to allow you to steal a life from one of your opponents here. So Sebastian is at 4 lives, Stephanie is at 5, and you are currently at 6 lives.
Okay, so I got to go with Mario Party strategy here and take it from my closest competitor. So Stephanie's going to give me a life here.
All right.
Oh, no.
All right. So after the first question, we have Stephanie at 4 lives, Sebastian at 4 lives, and Dave, you are at 7.
All right, Sebastian, we got to team up against him. Mario
Sounds like it, man.
I invoked
It's
Mario
on.
Party strategy.
Sounds like it.
So that means
thought
we're
we were
going to be
gonna
mortal
ease
enemies
into
by
this.
the end of this.
That's right. You start as friends, you're going to be quick mortal enemies after the end of this. That was actually the second title I had for this, was Mortal Enemies, but I decided to go with 1up Showdown. All right, so my next question is this. We learned late last month that Fable got delayed to 2026, as this was announced on the official Xbox podcast. My question to you is this. Does this reflect a commitment to quality or indicate deeper issues within Microsoft's game development process? Stephanie, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts?
So I unfortunately have to go with the latter. Normally, I like to think positively and that it is a commitment to quality, and perhaps that might be a factor. But the reason why I chose the latter is because so many of what Xbox has promised. I remember that there was a particular Xbox showcase that said these are all the games that will be coming up in the next 12 months. And several of those, I think the other one was Metal Gear Solid Delta that they showed, also was pushed and notified us very, very late in the game. So, judging by their unfortunate recent history of just promising things that will be released, and I think the other one was Silk Song, within the next 12 months, all got delayed. I hate to say it, and maybe like a little bit's quality, but I just think there's just an issue with their flow, whether it's transparency or trying to appease board members. So I do believe it is the latter.
Yeah. It's annoying to me to hear that games are going to come out in 12 months and then they don't come out in 12 months. Like,
I know. And listen, if you can't, I mean, again, this is just to the consumer. Again, dealing with a board of directors, I don't know what that's like. But as a consumer, if you really aren't sure, that's okay. Just say, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get off that soapbox. It's not my 60 seconds.
sounds good. All right, Dave, you're up next. What do you think? Is this reflect commitment to quality or indicate deeper issues within Microsoft's game development process?
I'm going to go with a commitment to quality here because, if you asked this question 6 months ago, I might have said it was an issue in Microsoft's process, but we're currently in Microsoft's best run in recent memory right now. So, and then like counting the things that we have upcoming in the next couple months, we're in a good run for Microsoft. They've had a couple of good things come out recently, good reviews, good, user numbers, however they total that. And so I think the Fable thing is just they told us about it too early when, and this is, I think Stephanie was about to get on that soapbox about like, hey, don't tell us about these games if you don't really know when they're coming out. Like, it's okay to let us know this thing's 6 months away and not like, yeah, this is coming. We promise. Who knows when it's coming? We're not telling. We don't know either. I think that's more of the issue than like a lack of quality development happening. Just take recent history as my evidence.
Yeah. I like how you started making an argument for Stephanie. Maybe you're hoping that she would steal.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Nicely done. All right, Sebastian, you're up. What do you think? Is this commitment to quality or indicate deeper issues within Microsoft's game development process?
I think this is deeper issues in Microsoft's game development.
Really? This surprises me because you seem to always defend Microsoft, but go ahead.
No. I think this needs to be one. Fable needs to be a Game of the Year contender. I think I think they've had to Dave's point, they had a good string of games, but none of those are contenders. Like, let's be honest though, none of those are real hardcore like undisputed contenders. And I think Fable needs to be that. I think Fable needs to stand alone, not just on the lineage of the IP, but I think it also needs to be like one of those things that needs to attract people to Game Pass. Because I was like, when's the last time we've seen that? Like a game that made everyone stand still. Avowed didn't do that. Avowed didn't do that. Indiana Jones, I know you're a big indie fan. Didn't do that as well. Didn't do that as well.
I'm gonna lose a life on that one. Oh, man.
I know. I gotta take a shot though. But no, going back to the issue though, I think like this needs to come out of the gate hot, and I do think like they need to keep the momentum of a good string of games going because I don't.
Life back.
Oh no, it's all good. You could have kept that one, but no, it's like I don't think they can afford a dud on Fable, especially with what they're advertising as their strategy going forward. If everything's at Xbox, like they need a game that is the premier game that says like, oh, you need to get back on this ecosystem or you need to join this ecosystem, and Fable needs to be that.
So, I mean, does that reflect the quality, their commitment to quality of this game, or is it, do you think it's because the other games are just struggling, and you're like, well, they have to make sure one of these games comes out okay?
I think that's it, though. I think it needs to be one of those things to where I'm like, all the other games have done decently, but not necessarily spectacular. I don't think there's necessarily a spectacle game among those. Like I think Fable needs to be their Ghost of Tsushima, where the world kind of stands still and is highly anticipating that game. I can't remember the last time Xbox had that, even with the recent strings there.
I don't know. I argue that our Indiana Jones is up there, but okay, that's fair.
That's a different debate. That's a different debate.
That's a different debate. That's a different debate. All right, so that question ends. Good job, everybody. After our second question, Stephanie, you stand at 7. Sebastian, you have 5, and Dave, you are at 9 lives right now. So this next question will go to Dave first then. And kind of staying along the lines of games and studios, with Warner Brothers Discovery shutting down Monolith Productions, who are working on Wonder Woman, Player First Games, who created Multiverses, and WB Games San Diego, who was working on something we don't know, is the company jeopardizing long-term player trust by eliminating studios behind creative and fan-loved projects? Or is this simply a necessary business move to focus on proven franchises like Harry Potter, Batman, and Mortal Kombat?
I would argue that they think it's a necessary business move, but I don't. I mean, I'm not there. I'm not looking at the books, but I have a hard time believing that cutting such talented developers is actually going to give them the long-term results that they're looking for. But companies like that are not necessarily looking for long-term results. They need short-term things to make the next quarter look nice. And there's no better way to do that than to cut a bunch of cost really quickly. So they're just losing trust and losing excitement by shutting down these studios, removing these wells of institutional knowledge and game development experience.
Yeah. Think about all the games that Monolith did, including the Lord of the Ring games. And the cool Nemesis system that they created. I mean, it's just too bad.
We have a lot of we have a lot of talk out there about how AAA doesn't innovate, and that one of the studios that always innovated just got shut down.
Yeah. Give you an extra life for that one. Stephanie. No, actually, Sebastian. I'm sorry. Sebastian, you go next. Sorry, I forgot the order. Sebastian, you go next.
It's all good. Can you ask the question one more time?
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to do the whole thing or just the question itself?
Just the debatable part,
Okay. Is Warner Brothers Discovery jeopardizing long-term player trust by eliminating studios behind the creative and fan-loved projects? Or is this simply a necessary business move to focus on proven franchises like Harry Potter, Batman, and Mortal Kombat, which they're putting all their eggs in the basket in those 3 games?
I think this is hard to argue because I think it's both, to be honest. I think they're losing player trust, but I do think this is I agree with Dave on this one, but I think this is a necessary kind of evil, if I'm being honest, I think they need to slim down. They've made so many mistakes in the past of, let's say, hemorrhaging their IPs and not taking advantage of the IPs they currently have. So I think you have to kind of go with what works here. I think Harry Potter, they saw Hogwarts Legacy. They need to double down on that. Any smart business would double down on Hogwarts Legacy. I think, get tunnel focus in on Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat's been struggling lately. They need to get the focus back for that as well. I also think they went off the rails with what was the Arkham Studio? What the Arkham Studio is known for, and they kind of need to get back to basics on that as well. I'm why do a Suicide Squad? Stay with Batman, or do something very similar to Batman, proven successes. So I do think you have to go back to basics sometimes you have to take 3 steps back in order to go forward again. And unfortunately, I hate the fact that it costs a lot of people their jobs. I think they probably should have kept those studios and had them streamline the IPs that they worked on. But I think it was a mistake to go so far out of what and what to be a proven success. And in lieu of these multiplayer games as a service, pivots there. So I think I do think they needed to go back to basics.
Okay. Stephanie, what are your thoughts?
Out of all the debates we've had so far, maybe this is one where the three of us are probably mostly aligned because, as I've been listening to Dave and Sebastian, I mean, I'm starting to think, well, I don't really have an argument against what they were saying. I believe, I do agree that this is, Warner Brothers is a massive, massive company. And with companies like that, they tend to try and go for where they can make the most money in the fastest amount of time, which they thought would be, games of a service and all that stuff. And after making those mistakes, they scrambled and needed to therefore rely on those successful IP. Not to repeat what Sebastian said, but with Hogwarts Legacy and what major companies do to correct course, and this will apply across any market segment with a large company, is by restructuring. I put that in quotes. They restructure, they cut down, they trim, they make it look like a nice thing, and in the end, maybe that might work best for them from a business standpoint, but they are following in the footsteps of like any other massive company where they're just going with what they know is safe versus experimenting in the more unique IP. They're just kind of risk mitigating at this point.
Yeah.
Rocksteady is who I was thinking about, by the way.
With Rockstar, yeah. Yeah, it's just too bad. They were several years into the Wonder Woman game, and to think of a Wonder Woman game with the Nemesis system would have been pretty cool. And I don't know, it just seems like a waste of money, but I think you all made good arguments. Okay, next question. We learned that possibly at least 3 major publishers are reportedly planning to delay game releases to avoid competing with Grand Theft Auto 6. So my question is this a smart move to protect sales, or is it a sign that the industry has become too reliant and too afraid of a single franchise? I think, Sebastian, we're up to you, right? Is it right? Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, Sebastian, you're up first.
Okay, cool. No, man. No, GTA 6 is that game. It's that IP. I hate to say it. I'm like, when you see a GTA 5 and it breaking like all these records within like a week of its release back in 2013. I'm talking about like not even game records. I'm talking about like multimedia records as far as like the quickest IP to make, or the quickest like individual thing to make $1 billion. Nah, you stay out of that way. Here's case in point. Assassin's Creed just came out, right? As of this recording. You know what it just got out of the way of? Monster Hunter. Do you know what Monster Hunter hasn't done? GTA 6 numbers or GTA numbers. You get out of the way. Even established IPs such as Assassin's Creed get out of the way of that. Yeah. They say you don't take shots at the king unless unless you're gonna kill him. You don't go anywhere near GTA as far as that launch window, unless you want to hemorrhage and marginalize your sales. GTA 6 is still the IP. Case in point, like a lot of people are going to get a Pro of the PS5 just to play one single game. Single game. It has that power. It's 2013 and it's 2025. That game came out, GTA 5 came out in 2013. People are still playing that thing. It's still one of the top games in Steam's playlist every single week.
I wish it was 2013. That'd be nice.
It was a good time. But no, you get out of the way of that. You just do.
You don't pull on Superman's cape, right? Stephanie, what are your thoughts?
So I agree with Sebastian in this case, with it being the former of the argument. Does not mean I necessarily agree with it, right, from a personal standpoint. But I feel that GTA is one of the most memorable franchise names. And I think the key point is even people who are not gamers know what GTA is. GTA has a reputation as a great game, fun game, but it also has like even horrible reputation. For example, it being pinned as having a negative influence on teenagers, whether it's true or not true. So on one hand, I do think it is very smart for those, I think you said 6 games to move out of the way. Now, I do think there's a bit of a caveat. If you have a game that is very niche, that you already have like a very particular like cult following or something, it doesn't matter because those loyal fans of the specific genre will buy the game regardless. But if you are, say, an indie developer or one that just might be maybe untested, those are the ones I feel that it is smart and well founded to get out of the way, because you might have a small handful of true gamers, quote unquote, that follow the news pretty quickly. But I know in mass, most people don't know the bulk of video games that are out. They might walk into a Target and be like, "Oh, what's on the show? GTA." I have the kid down the street who's like 7 years old, and he's like, I can't wait to see GTA 6." I'm like, "You don't know nothing, little kid." But anyway, so although I might not agree with it, and there might be some niche examples if you have an established following, but I feel like in this case, just with a franchise known to non-gamers as well as gamers alike, I think it is wise, and I would do the same thing.
Yeah. Dave, you're up. What do you think? Is this a smart move to protect sales, or is this a sign that the industry has become too reliant and too afraid of a single franchise?
I don't think it's too afraid. I think there's such a thing as a necessary fear. Like you mentioned, there's a number of publishers. Do you know who those publishers are?
It didn't say in the article.
Okay.
It was rumored that these publishers, right? But they didn't say who they were.
Okay. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say they're not, these indie publishers. They're probably like big publishers, companies that have a lot of risk involved, a ton of money wrapped up in these projects, and they don't want to mess up their release window by being blown out of the water by GTA. Because as Sebastian and Stephanie said, and I totally agree with, GTA 6 is that game. It's going to be the biggest game release since GTA 5, maybe. Like GTA is going to bring in those people that have not bought a new console since GTA 5 came out over 10 years ago. It's going to get those people. So I think there is like a certain degree of like, you can't just indefinitely pause all announcements and plans for your game because of what's possibly looming out there. The part that I disagree with is that I think that like, if a studio announced that their game's going to come out in August, for example, and then GTA is like, "Oh yeah, we're coming out in August," and then that studio's like, "Boom, we're now coming out in October." I don't think anyone would care. Like, I don't think people are gonna, like, there might be some idiots dunking on them on Twitter or whatever, but I don't think that that's a big deal. I think that if you just wait and wait and wait and wait, when's GTA going to announce their release date? When are they going to announce the release date? And then suddenly, like, I mean, obviously there's whatever these games in development are, surely there's work to be done up until and then beyond release date, as it always is. But like, you can't just wait forever. That's the thing. Like, it's okay to be afraid of the GTA release, but you got to have business as usual for your own product as well. And then if it means you delay 3 months or 6 months, keep working on your game. Like, I don't know. I don't see that as like a huge deal, unless the money's going to run out. But I don't know. I'm going in too many different directions. I want to get Roger to get the pen out.
Yeah, good arguments. I am going to steal there, Stephanie. I thought you made a good point with the fact that this is like a well-known name that everybody knows this, whether you know video games or not. Grand Theft Auto. So I'll read you the scores right now. Stephanie, you have 11 lives. Sebastian, you have 10, and David, you have 15. Stephanie, who do you want to steal a life from?
Oh, come on, it's kind of obvious. And it's not just revenge. Clearly not because of revenge. We got to make this fair. So I'm going to take that life away from you.
I was hoping against hope, but okay.
That's your strategy, man. Dave is arguing over here like a defense attorney. So I'm like, we just got to do what we got to do at this point.
No, if I ever get in trouble, I'm going to call him up.
I'm telling you.
Except he's
Murdoch over here is just arguing.
I have no legal authority wherever you live, but I'm happy to talk. I like talking. That's why I'm here.
Do you don't have bulletin boards all over the U.S.? So call me if you're in trouble with
got into a car accident.
I don't
Yeah,
want anyone to call me ever.
No.
So no.
So that puts us at, Stephanie, you are at 12, Sebastian, you are at 10, and Dave, you are at 14. So this is the last question.
Let's do it.
And Stephanie, I think it's going to start with you here. So Star Wars Hunters, one of my favorite games, game that I put in over 100 hours into this game. So that's why I added this to this list. Star Wars Hunters, a class-based arena shooter developed by Zynga, is scheduled to shut down on October 1st, 2025, just 16 months after its global release. I'm going to say that again, 16 months after its global release. So my question to you, does the rapid shutdown of Star Wars Hunters highlight the inherent risk of the live service game model, or does it reflect specific missteps by Zynga in developing and marketing the game?
Ooh, I would likely argue the former. Zynga is a pretty large company. I mean, especially with all, especially with mobile games, and they probably set certain numbers. I feel like I'm kind of echoing a previous argument at so high, and then when they realize that they haven't hit those milestones, they kind of have to scramble. And again, I feel like it's all about appeasing those board members. So I feel that it is kind of a common practice for, again, those larger companies. And unless I have the numbers in front of me, right, I feel like it would have done just fine if they kept it going. But I feel like they just put so much, probably too much time, money invested in there, and when it did not what is it, it's not up to par, they just ripped the plug out. So
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I'm starting to feel like a broken record, but
no. It's crazy to me to think that you buy a license like Star Wars and you don't have it open more than 16 months. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, up to you now. Does this reflect an inherent risk of live service games, or does this reflect specific missteps by Zynga in developing, marketing the game?
I think this is a highlight of a different risk of the live service genre where, when we think of the risks of live service, we always think of like the Concords and the Suicide Squads of the world when they just flop on release and no one wants to play them. And then those games are dead as soon as they come out. Whereas the risk is always that they're just going to stop making the game. The live service depends on them always continuing to make the game. And at some point, like Stephanie said, the company decides this is not worth it for us. Again, whatever metric we're using to determine if it's worth it, they decide it's not worth it for us. And everybody else involved, the developers whose paychecks, depend on making that game, and then hopefully they get brought onto other projects, but I'm not sure what's going to happen with them. And then the players who have been playing the game, enjoying it, probably spending some money on it, it can all just go away. We saw it with Marvel Snap when it got tied in with the TikTok thing really quickly. Like, it could just disappear, even if it's a successful game. If it's not making Fortnite or Overwatch money, it can just disappear anytime. Depending on when they decide that it's not worth it for them anymore. So I think it's definitely the risks. As far as I know, it was a fairly successful game. Like, it's not Fortnite, and it's not the Pokemon trading card game right now, but fairly successful game. It was doing okay, I think. Enough people cried out when it got shut down to make me think like, oh, there were people who cared about this game, you know? Yeah. So yeah, it's the risk for me, and it's a different kind of risk than we usually hear about with live service.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Fortnite, just to give you some credit there, because I feel like a lot of the hype and the jump to games as a service, they're going for Fortnite money. I'm like,
yeah,
it's not all going to be Fortnite money.
Yeah, they see the
I'm
pie
not
in the
glad
sky.
you
That's
mentioned that,
what
because that was about to be the basis of my argument.
Yeah. Take it away.
It was about to be the basis of my whole argument.
Take it away. Yeah.
Sebastian, yeah, go ahead.
Roger, can you reread the question while I scream on my brain?
Yeah.
Read through my whole argument in my head real quick.
Does the rapid shutdown of Star Wars Hunters highlight the inherent risk of the live service game model, or does it reflect specific missteps by Zynga in developing and marketing the game? And I just want to remind you all, I put 105 hours into this game. Okay,
a lot of emotion.
That has nothing to do with the
it.
argument.
Yeah.
I just want to remind you.
Okay, so let's start at the top. I do think this is a reflection on the live service model and the market in general. I think it's a cutthroat market, and like we've only seen there's only like room for about 3 or 4 of these at the top, and all these companies are trying to emulate what they're seeing the top dogs of this market make. And then also like with Star Wars, we've read reports on Disney and specifically Marvel, Spider-Man 2, and how much of that licensing fee when Disney was charging. I think that's a big part of like the success and failures of Star Wars Hunters. Is like it could have been a marginal success, but with that license fee on top of everything like that, it kind of damages what those numbers and what success actually looks like for a licensed game. On top.
So are you saying that's a misstep on Zigno's part? Is
I think it's both, but I'm arguing that it's harder to do a live service game that is also an IP game outside of like the select few of that work. Yeah,
a pricey license, like you said. Yeah,
I'm talking about like you have to be on your P's and Q's, and I think Star Wars is a fantastic license, but then I'm like, it's not quite at the same level as Marvel Rivals at this point. And I do think you have to be very calculated on how you get into the live service market. So if you even tried at this point, PlayStation's getting out of there. They were pivoting their whole live service push, and then they're like, nah, son, it's a bloodbath. And this is before Concord. So I'm like, Concord was just the exclamation point. So I'm like, they're pivoting, what was it, 8 games out of live service at that point. I'm like, Xbox is doing the same thing. So yeah, it's just a bloodbath with live service. And I hate to say this, but outside of Marvel Rivals and Helldivers 2, can you name successful live service games that have come out within the last 3 years that have sustainability, that also have survived the last couple, that have survived past 12 months? You really can't. I'm like, and those are very specific, very unique games that have a market that is very unique to them, because outside of Overwatch, which was also disenfranchising their whole market, so it was kind of like a layup. You have outside of that, like they had an easy market, to take over. So I think this is a sign that live service is also on the downward trend, unfortunately, for the people who enjoy that. And also, like, you have to be very strategic on how you get into that. Even sports is taking a dive on the live service. So yeah. I hate it, Roger, for you, man. My heart goes out to you.
Yeah.
You got Indiana Jones though, brother. Take the win. Take the win.
Okay. Thanks. I want to give you a steal on that one. I thought you did a good job with that argument. So go ahead and steal.
I'm sorry, Dave, man. You over here arguing like Matt Murdock, man. Like Matt Murdock over here from Daredevil.
All right. So with that ends our game, and this is the very first game. And here's the crazy thing. We have a tie. We have a 3-way tie.
Bonus round. Bonus round.
Each of you have.
Sebastian gets a steal though.
The steal got me up to the top. Probably.
Yeah.
I was way behind.
Yeah. So 7, you have 15. Sebastian, you have 15. Dave, you have 15. So each of you have 15 lives. Yeah, good job. So I don't have a icebreaker, or a tiebreaker. So none of you get the minute. I get the minute. No, I'm just kidding. Each of you will get. I'll give you guys each. Let's say 30 seconds each to talk a little about whatever you want to talk about. So I'll split that. Try to do that somewhat evenly, although it's not quite. But I'll give you each 30 seconds. So Sebastian, I'll start with you. Go ahead and talk about whatever you want to do for 30 seconds. You have the floor.
Instead of doing that, can I pitch a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would
like to do whatever you want. It's your 30 seconds, dude.
Okay, so everyone, if you were CEO of Warner Brothers Games, how would you pivot? Because I'm that question and that debate is like, it's been on my mind for like 3 weeks on like, if I had a genie and I got to be CEO, what would I do? And the first thing I would do is probably make smaller games and like outsource indie studios to work on my IPs. Because I think Wonder Woman, even though the Nemesis system sounds really cool, Steel is a very challenging thing to do with the Nemesis system because she is a god who can murk pretty much everything in front of her. And unless you're facing God of War style other gods, she's going to tear through Cheetah like nobody's business. So I would say let's make that a Metroidvania, just like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. And she gets to take on like demons that are invading Themyscira and such like that. Like, I'm so curious, what would y'all do with that whole like library of IP?
You are so breaking the rules, but go ahead, answer that question.
I'm sorry.
No, that's a good question. Go ahead and answer the question.
Yeah, I think that my answer is pretty simple, and it would be I would say I would guess that if you asked the people at Monolith, what game do you want to make? I don't think they would have picked a Wonder Woman game. I think that they got
so hard
given a Wonder Woman game. And that's no shade on Wonder Woman as like an idea for a cool video game hero or something like that. But like, I don't think that's the game they wanted to make. My thing would be let the Harry Potter money carry your business and those big things, the Mortal Kombat stuff like that, and then let these studios cook on what they want to do. That's how you get games that change stuff. That's how you get games that bust out past just like the general, like I get like the new Assassin's Creed game came out, a lot of people like it. It's not going to change the world or anything like that. That's how you get bigger than that. I think it's how you get game of the year type games, is by letting these studios that have talent make the games they want to make.
Can I ask a question then? Like, who do you pick and choose with studios to actually force to make the money making IPs games? Because it's like, if everyone's getting to make what they want to make, what if Ed says, "Hey, I don't want to make Mortal Kombat or fighting games anymore"? What are you doing?
It would be interesting to see. Like, if you're not going to make Mortal Kombat, what do you want to make? But I don't know. It's interesting because, like, yeah, someone has to make the Harry Potter. I mean, I guess like the studios that are not making the breadwinning things, like let them make, especially someone like Monolith who has this long history of innovation, and not saying they weren't going to innovate with Wonder Woman, but like let them make the game that they want to make. They've proven that they put out games that change the industry, that give inspiration to others, and that's how you get games like Astrobot that kind of come out of nowhere and win Game of the Year, because that team was allowed to make the game they wanted to make. And even if it did, even if it was probably like, you're also going to make this like a little Sony advertisement for us, but like that, I think that's how you get to that point.
Yeah.
To piggyback off that, I take kind of a similar approach. I mean, I tend to kind of walk the line a little bit, because I do feel that when you have an umbrella of studios at your disposal, there are ones I feel like if they have had a history of being a bit more innovative, I would want them to work on something, because I do agree that passion does show in the quality of game that comes out. I do believe in diversifying the portfolio. However, now again, this is without knowledge of exact numbers, of course. I would be a little hesitant to just flat out cancel Wonder Woman. I would kind of look at, what kind of game do we want Wonder Woman to be, and then just pick the people, the developers that specialize in that genre, and then hand that to them, because we want the best of the best. I think the example is, didn't Nintendo utilize or leverage developers or programmers that worked on first-person shooters to work on Metro Prime 4? Something like that I remember hearing about, a little bit to that extent. And then the last layer is try to take a bit more of like an Eastern business approach versus a Western, where we don't need to dump millions of dollars on a high production, high stakes game. You can make a game that isn't blow your brains out with graphics and sound to make a good game as well. So I just feel like, fine, we've already invested in Wonder Woman. Let's just kind of shift talent around who can execute the best. Let the rest work on what they want to. And then also, let's be a bit conservative with our money. Like, how can we make making video games efficient? Because I'm more about efficiency.
Yeah. I'll just quickly answer that. So I think I agree with Dave. I mean, I would love to have seen just taking the money that if you're making the big money, allow that money to then fund experimental things, right? And sometimes out of experimental, you get something cool, like the Nemesis system, right? Like, I don't know. It just feels like you're not gonna advance the ball. You're not gonna advance technology unless you take risks. And shutting down studios, while it might avert risk, as in like sales, I mean, like money, like stakeholders, shareholders, money, is not really gonna change the industry. But I don't know. Maybe they don't really care about changing the industry. They just care about making money. So,
Ding, ding, ding.
I guess that's
good old capitalism.
Yeah. Stephanie, I'll let you have 30 seconds. What do you want to talk about? Anything under the sun.
I'll be cliche, just because it's fun and quick and wicked. More and more Nintendo Switch 2 rumors are stirring the pot because we're just about a week away now. And I'm not sure when this episode's going to air, so who knows? But
hopefully this week, before the Nintendo release,
The latest that was circulated by Wario64, which I would feel like if the rumor holds some level of credibility, it gets circulated by them. But anyway, the rumor has it that the Switch 2 will showcase game releases in phases. Like phase 1 would be their first party. Phase 2, I think, is third party. And then I forgot phase 3. Dave, you're nodding. So if you remember what I'm missing, let me know. But
I don't. But
okay, but I do know for first party is the focus, and then third party, and then maybe I don't know. What in another secondary rumor was that Metroid Prime 4 wasn't going to be shown in this April Direct. If that is true, so let's just make the assumption that it is true that Metroid Prime 4 will not be shown. What is a first-party IP for Nintendo that, just for fun, that you would want to see? Because we're never going to really guess. There's no point in trying to guess what Nintendo is going to do. So what would you want?
Are you asking each of us?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm just copying Sebastian's tactic and ask questions. I'll say for me, I would love to see a Fire Emblem. Maybe it's more likely we'll see a 3D Donkey Kong, but I'd love to see a Fire Emblem kick off the Switch too. But who knows?
Three Houses 2. Oh, that'd be awesome.
4 houses.
Oh, even more houses. Yes.
Just keep bringing in houses. Yeah.
I just hope the next Fire Emblem is more like 3 houses and less like the last Fire Emblem that came out.
Engage.
Engage. I wasn't huge on Engage. Love 3 houses though. But to answer your question, I would like back to basics, like Smash Brothers, almost like a scale down or a Smash like 16 to 20 roster, or maybe like a new gen version of like these characters of like, instead of having a super huge roster, maybe have like 16 of the new age Nintendo Switch style of these characters that we know and love, and just keep it like short, simple, to the point, and have like all the core franchises have like one representative. At least if you had like one Nintendo exclusive on the Switch, let you can be in the game. You get invited to the cookout. Everybody else is like not invited.
I'm gonna go with a super simple answer, but I can't wait to see what they're doing with the next 3D Mario game. And they've just been sitting on 3D Mario for a long time now. And I know whatever the next one is, it's going to be cool. So that's like, I was going in through my head and I was like, a new Wario game, but I can't. I mean, I'm most excited about 3D Mario.
It's definitely due. It's been quite a while since Odyssey came out. So
yeah, we've had 2 Zelda games, 2 mainline Zelda games in time. It's weird. I would love to see a Donkey Kong game, a 3D Donkey Kong game, because Donkey Kong's my guy, right? So like, so Donkey Kong is like my favorite character. So I would love to see Donkey Kong get some love. Probably won't happen, but it'd be cool.
You never know with Nintendo; they'll surprise you.
That's right. They'll come up with some game with the mouse, and
we're gonna get Arms 2 next week.
Yeah, Arms 2 with Donkey Kong.
Well, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3 Switch.
Oh no!
1, 2, 5, 3, sir. 3 Switch.
Diddy Kong Racing 2 comes back.
Yeah, maybe double dash. That'd be amazing. Dave, what do you got? You got 30 seconds.
I don't have a question. I just have kind of piggybacking on today's news about Game Informer coming back, which kind of seemed like it came as somewhat a result maybe of all the outpouring of support for Game Informer when it got shut down. And it's really cool to see them get a second chance. And my thing that I want to say is support your favorite creators, no matter what they create, and tell them that you like what they make, because they may just go away. Especially if it's a small creator, they may stop making, they may stop writing, they may stop podcasting, making YouTube stuff, whatever it is they do. It can be a very lonely game out there. So all the way down, if you like what someone does, please tell them that you like what they do. Share it around, support them however you can. And it extends all the way to the top now to the biggest brands, because the media side of gaming is just in a tailspin. People are losing their jobs left and right. That's why the Game Informer news felt so great, is because we never get good news out of games media these days. And it's like, to get a win like that was great. So what I would like everyone to do, if you're still here with us, please give other creators that you like, give them a small win. Tell them that you like what they make.
Yeah.
Nice.
Snaps for that. I 150% agree.
Yeah. And that will do it for the first episode of the 1up Showdown. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone who watched. And be sure to subscribe. Be sure to subscribe to all these fine content creators as well. Until next week, everyone, stay safe and game on. Bye.
Game on.